Special shout out to our sponsor of Russ Reals Live, the Boulder Falls Inn of Lebanon, Oregon. For more information on the Boulder Falls Inn and their amazing conference facility, call 541-451-1000.
And here we are live. So I am not Russ, but I am real. So Russ is not invested in an AI host, although I hope he's not thinking about it. So anyway, I am Scott Smith here, a substitute host for Russ on Russ Reels. We've got great guests today. Every Wednesday. That's Wednesday is when we do the Experience Live with Russ and Scott at 7 a.m. Pacific time, but this is not Wednesday at 7 a.m. It's also not Monday or Thursday at 8 a.m. Pacific time here on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. It is Thursday at 4 p.m., which means it's time for Russ Reels with our wonderful guests every day, every week, right here on Russ Reels Live. So, we only have an hour, and an hour goes fast.
Is that it?
Very fast.
16 minutes out of our 1,440 minutes every day, and 1440. There are no rollover minutes, so we use all of them, and we're going to have fun with 60 of those minutes today, and I don't want to waste them. So with that, I'll just tell you that I talked to Russ yesterday. He sounds really good. For those that are praying for him, thank you so much. Mm-hmm. He got home early from the doctor. He was supposed to stay in the hospital like 3 days, but apparently he told too many cheesy jokes and they sent him home.
Good behavior.
Yes.
Oh, my.
Yep. So he's doing good. Good spirits as you would expect. So anyway, with that, let's jump right into today's Russ Reels. So let's start with Mia, because you're in the upper left corner there.
I'm right next to you, aren't I? Or opposite way. Oh, that way.
Yeah. So let's go clockwise, because that's a nice orderly fashion. So Mia, tell us who you are and what is going on in your world.
Oh, hello, everyone. I'm happy to be here. I'm Mia. I'm the community manager for 2 networks, mental health networks, and a trauma network where I also advise in. I specialize in community building and relationships. So I am that connector that likes to bridge the gap between myself and the members all around me. So I am the one that you will see fluttering quite a bit on LinkedIn to make that happen, besides my community spaces. So I'm super excited to be back here with these lovely ladies. So thank you for having me again.
Absolutely. And for those of us who think community manager, what is that?
Ooh, I get that question all the time.
Yeah.
So Scott, it depends on the company that you're with. But for me, if I was to sum it, it would be the one that develops, grows, and sustains the relationships that are happening within your community spaces. So I look at the strategies, the needs, the wants of the members, and what value I can bring to them to help retain them in the space, while also making sure that they're also involved, because it's not about me, it's about them and what they need to improve, and enhance their personal and professional careers.
I love it. Yeah. And it is an amazing group. And so next up on the hit parade is Roz.
Oh my gosh. I'm so happy to be here with a part 2. I just saw you yesterday, Scott.
I know.
So it's been a really long time.
We had a great conversation yesterday.
Yeah, we do. And This part 2 is going to be really good because we're talking about community. We're talking about the last time we did this was what is it? A few months ago, we were talking. Oh, by the way, I'm an executive coach. And I help professionals and C-suites go into career, leadership, and transition. And a lot of the time when we were talking about networking, we were back in the green room talking about, how are we going to do that? How do you do that? And Mia is a very good example of how you do that. And how I try and help my clients in networking is, the first thing I say, who's on your bench? Who are those supporters? Because that's really where you need to look at. But before we even get to that, you really have to have a really good sense of self. Because if you don't know what your values are, you don't know what your beliefs are, you're not going to attract those like-minded people. Then you can continue into that networking. But I'm sure I don't want to take up so much time, but I know we only have an hour. But we could get into this conversation and we just run with it. So there you go.
Well, we're good stewards over time, so we're using the 60 minutes well, and with that, okay. So let's continue the circle there.
All righty, y'all. Well, howdy. My name is Raquel Flores, and yes, I will make you roll that R. Eventually, when you meet me, you will. But I am so happy to be here. Thank you so much. Russ, giving you a shout out, praying for you. We love you. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to be here once again, with these fantastic, wonderful ladies. I'm so happy to be here. We had so much fun last time, and just. I'm telling you, part 2 is like maybe a sequel. We don't know. Yeah. But Scott, it's the first time I meet you actually, and it's wonderful. Thank you so much for pretty much hosting this. This is amazing. You're awesome. Okay, so a little bit about
an honor for me. An honor for me to share the screen with each one of you. So where in the world are you, and what is going on?
Okay. So I am in Houston, Texas, and pretty much it's really hot and humid here. It's like suffocatingly hot and humid. I think it reached like 112 today, no joke. So it's just like indoors it is, people. But so pretty much a little bit of what I do is I am very deep into the community aspect. Shout out to the hounds. I love you guys. Thank you. Networking it's at the center and the heart of everything that I do it each and every day. I pretty much help unleash leaders. There it goes. Russ is being so helpful. Look at him. You need to rest.
Is it our Russ really doing that?
Oh, well, it's his beautiful face on there.
Maybe ever.
Maybe ever. I know, right? But yeah, so that's a little bit about me. I like I said, it's one of those things that community networking and just unleashing leaders, uplifting one another is at the heart and center of everything that I do on LinkedIn. So
absolutely. It's those people that we're connected to, that's where the value is at, right? And it's not to say, when you go to networking events, people say, oh, I hate to go to networking events. And I worked with a guy that was the engineer's engineer in the heart of Silicon Valley. And he said, Scott, the first thing that I think about when I walk into a networking event is how long do I have to stay before it's rude for me to leave, right? And I think the reason is that we don't have a plan. You don't have a plan to go there. And most of the people, I will say, that are there without a plan. And so they'll come and say, oh, it's nice to meet you, Mia. And actually what they're saying is, hi, how can I make money off of you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Dollar sign.
Yeah. And that's why we don't like to go, because we don't want to be someone's mark. Right. And we're not actually there just to try to do, we're trying to build relationships. And that's really, I think back golfing, right? Oh, graduating college, Scott, you need to learn to golf because a lot of businesses transact on the golf course. And which may be true, but there's nothing special about golf. What it is people with a similar interest spending time together and then going, oh, by the way, Can you, Roz, can you come on to Russ's show and talk about what you do? Right. That's all it is. So Mia, let's talk a little bit more about how you help people and some actual structure and plans that you put in place so that people are going to events either in person or online with a plan.
Yeah, so I get asked that question of like how I initiate the conversations. And I always go back to I play on the strength that I have, one of them, which is connectedness. I have the innate ability, natural ability as a former educator to kind of look at the group that I'm going into, try to understand the audience. And my plan is to know who I'm going to be working around, who I'm going to be surrounded with, and try to understand their needs, their wants, what they're looking for, their pain points. And once I kind of gather like their interests, I have a way like to systemize like the connections of who knows what areas of expertise they might be really good on, and just call on that person to come in and add the value, that they have in which they can connect with the other person. So I use that quite a bit within my community spaces of understanding my members, and that's a way for me to strategize instead of it always being me the one talking, which it shouldn't be, but rather having the members come together and collaborate. But the only way I can do that is if I understand who I'm working with, to understand them better.
Absolutely. Doing a little bit of homework ahead of time helps.
Have to.
Right.
So, Roz?
Well, when we were talking about this before, it got me thinking, and I read this article a while ago about it's called a bench buddy, and it's an actual bench, and it's used in several countries. But this article was talking about a bench in one of the schools in Ireland, and if a child sits there, it just gives the signal that they don't have anyone to play with. And so this was made for kids not to feel like so isolated, and also manage, bullying. So if we take that concept and we apply it, and especially for a lot of professionals, they're still doing virtual. If you take that concept and you go and you ask, who would be my bench buddy? Who would be the person that I'm going to go to when I feel not just the high, but the low? Who's going to make me feel like I'm not so isolated? Who's going to be the one that might change you do want to be with like-minded people, you want to be open, but you also want to be with other people that are self-motivating as well, because it's not going to work if you're not motivated and then you're going to be with other people that are not motivated. So as I would say to my son, you are who you hang out with. So, you tend to assimilate those traits. So you want to be with other people that are that motivating, self-motivating, so that they can, get you to that place when you have those moments of self-doubt, when you have those low moments, when you have those moments that you're really not sure if this is the amazing journey I'm supposed to be on.
I'm so glad you brought that up, Ross, because many people really don't think about that, especially prepping. Right, I'm tying it back to actual networking events. Right, individuals really don't think that there needs to be preparation prior to going to these events, and when in reality you do, because the first impressions do matter. And then usually I like to say, your card is like literally your smile, the way you present yourself and the way you embrace and invite other individuals. I think it's a smile. I have a gappy teeth, but those gappy teeth are a hit when I smile, because they're memorable. And not only because of that, but because I'm approachable. So individuals quite forget, and I get it. There's differences in perspectives, differences in personalities. I get all of that. But if we don't put ourselves out there, how are we going to become visible? How are we going to make those connections? And again, this is very important, right? We go to networking events to make connections, whether those connections lead to something else in the future, or whether it's a transactional, whichever opportunity comes away. The idea is to be able to connect with somebody else, to continue that line. That person may know somebody else who they can connect you with, whether it's in your industry or not. And to the point that Ross was making is surrounding yourself with an eclectic clan. I usually love doing that because usually those eclectic individuals or that group really force me to think outside the box. They allow me to think in different perspectives and actually embrace and look at things from a different angle. And I think that in itself is such an enrichment opportunity for me, in my opinion. So,
one of the things I'll just share, one of the problems that I had with networking was I didn't really know what I was doing there, right? Because I heard two things. Well, one of them is from the hardcore salespeople. You go looking to close a sale, right? Just go find
Right.
people. And in some cases, that's not wrong. If they need what you have, then fine. Then the other one was you're just going to look for advocates, people who will promote you. Well, that may be true too, but there's a couple of other roles that we need. So, and this is in the books that I've published, this is part of the structure, is to look and to say the average person on LinkedIn has 1,500 connections. I don't know 1,500 people, but Robin Dunbar, the English sociologist, anthropologist, says we can manage about 150 relationships. And if you go through your LinkedIn connections, and you can download a spreadsheet and just look at them, and you actually look at the people and highlight the people that you would actually do business with. Every time I've done this with folks, it comes down to between 100 and 120. And this is your active network. These are people, you don't need a Rolodex, by the way. You don't need any CRM system, because they're the people you know. Now, of that 100 to 120 people, there's 5 distinct roles. There's your mentors and advisors, people that you turn to for advice. There's the mentees, because all of us should be giving back. And the teacher always learns more than the student anyway. Then you have customers, or if you're a student, it might be employers. These are people who have direct experience working with you and are a great source of referrals and repeat business. Then you have advocates. Advocates are those people who will promote you publicly. By the way, out of that 100 to 120 people, that may be only 6 or 12 people, right? So advocates are actually a small part of your overall network. The largest part of your network, probably 2/3 of your network, are partners. And those are people who solve problems that you don't solve, but allow you to add value to your network, right? It's the who's your plumber, right? And so I would say, I would go, hey, Roz, I know you just had your website done and it looks great. Who is that?
Right.
And then you say, oh, this is who I worked with. And it's like, great, right? Now, from that web developer's point of view, Roz would be an advocate. Not necessarily that they're going to refer Roz, but they got referred, right? And for Roz, it's her partner. And this is like, oh, I always turn to Roz because she may not know, but she knows who, right? So this is an important. So when you walk into that networking event, first of all, I'm just going to add people to my extended network, right? I don't know where you're going to fall, but you might be. I might be looking specifically for a mentor. I want to learn ChatGPT, so I am here looking for somebody who I can work with on that. So I've just thrown Roz's name out there, so I'll let you respond to that, and then we'll go over to Raquel. I can't do that.
Well, I agree. You should have a plan when you go to these things, but also sometimes just stay open-minded, because the plan may not look like the plan that you wanted, and all of a sudden you want to be a little bit more spontaneous, with the plan. So it's kind of like a loose plan, but have something, written down, or something in your head that you're planning on doing, so to speak. When it comes to like in person, I mean, most people, at least the professionals that I deal with, they're still on virtual. But when it comes to in person, and when we're talking about dollar signs, because I used to be in sales, I couldn't, again, my beliefs come into play. I could not sell something I didn't believe in. So I could not refer anything that I don't believe in. So I think having a strong hold of those beliefs and values really give you a sense of direction of which way to go. And you'll know, your gut is always going to tell you, I don't really think that this is a good idea. I don't think so. So
And I'll say, yeah, absolutely. And when you start a conversation with somebody and you get that feeling, you can find a way to break it off, right?
Yes.
And that's fine. Again, you go to a networking event, there's limited time. There are some people that you can that you want to talk to, some people that you don't know you want to talk to until you talk to them.
Right.
But those people that you don't want to talk to, break it off.
Well, it's going to be like a bad marriage, like waiting to happen. It's just like, ooh, what those relationships feel like. And you just kind of step back and go, okay, you know what? This is probably not a good idea right now. So I'm going to go and get another refreshment.
Yeah, and you're taking it back, and like you said, Ross, is going with your gut feeling. If you don't feel like it is, because at the end of the day, it really is your vibe and listening to what your heart says. I know for a fact. I mean, how many of y'all, raise your hand? Y'all get pitch slapped with a P, right? Every single day, and
It's annoying.
It's quite annoying. It's frustrating to a degree, and also you're like, okay, to start kind of weaving through what is actually worth it, because 70% or 80% of those are really not going to be a great fit for what you're doing. It's just people doing what they know how to do, or they're taught to do, which is just pitch lap. But at the event, if you're in person more than anything, it's really getting to know the person. That, to me, is the epitome of networking, getting to actually know the human behind that professional. Because once you get to know that person, if you can tell a good character, good morale, and good people attract good people, in my opinion. And if you're able to actually sense that vibe, if you're tuned into vibrations, if you believe in then you'll be able to, 99% of the time, you'll be able to tell who is authentic, who is original, who's there for the right reasons, and not just to pitch slap you here and there. So it's like, I love saying that just because it really cements in people and imprints.
Oh, yeah.
Not pitch slap.
I get it all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Mia, keep it going.
And Raquel, so what Raquel, I'm going to roll my R, was saying, it's the human-centered approach, right? People want to connect with people, and it's the approach I take all the time in my community spaces with my members, but also in networking events, is that people don't want to be looked at just a dollar sign. They want you to see them as an actual person, have a real conversation, make that connection, and just say, hi, how are you? This takes me back to the old used car lot example, or the perfume section, where you go in just to browse and look, but then you're attacked by vultures wanting to make a sale. And I'm just like, whoa, you got to slow down. Please give me space just to breathe and kind of absorb the surroundings before all that. So I always take the approach of being warm and personable. And again, what Raquel was saying, smile. That instant connection, people are more at ease when they see you smiling, as opposed to being direct and saying, making a sale.
When you're smiling, they think that's the invitation to go and just, slap you with all their pitches, so it's like, also knowing, who it is that you're engaging with.
Absolutely. And that's why you need to have that conversation, not assuming, right? I always say, be careful of those assumptions too, because the only way you're going to know is if you actually have the conversation, and you're either going to feel the connection or you're going to feel a disconnection between people. So when members come into my space, I can't hound them and say, you better engage. I allow them to see what's around them, see the value. And then at some point I take the steps to then start engaging them, because people don't want to be, just pitch slapped, like Raquel said. So it's that personable approach. It's those personable connections that you can make with people. And they're the ones that are going to refer you to others.
Yes.
The fact that you took that time to actually get to know them, instead of slapping them. Well, not literally, but you guys know what I mean.
Yeah, no, but I mean, that's why it's important, to lay that foundation. It's a strong foundation rooted in actually relationships, getting to know that person for who they are and see them for who they are, not just the professional side. Of course, we are on a professional platform, though, right?
And that gives you the motivation to help that person. If you really are coming in authentically, you just say, you know what, this might not be a good fit. However, I really want to help you, and I want to help you get further. So I may not be the person for you, but I may know the person that might need you. So, that just, if you come in looking at me as a person, okay, we might not be that greatest fit, but guess what? I might know someone that you may have that relationship with. So, having those assumptions coming in that I'm the person, we have to, you have to kind of ease those things and just go, okay. So that's why, I always emphasize, just keep that open mind, because that plan is, it's malleable. It's not going to stay static.
So I love the conversation too about knowing yourself and knowing your values. And it takes time. It takes time to do that. Not everyone has gone through that. So one of the things that we can do at networking events when we're connecting to people is help them discover that in themselves.
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely serve as mirrors, because sometimes it is difficult for us to see our own worth and our own value, much less start understanding it, right? And how we can utilize it to pay it forward and to shine it back on the world. I know I'm going to be first to say, yes, I've been through that. Yes, I'm going through that. And I know in the near future, I will go through another phase, because as with everything in life, we go through transitions. I mean, and that's just the reality. I'm not shy to say I'm going to hit my 40s soon. And I'm just like, okay, I'm looking back at my 30s. What did I accomplish? That's what my parents say. You're such a baby. And I'm like, but I don't feel like it. But no, I do feel.
They're fabulous.
Well, thank you. But
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. It's like, okay, what do I have to show for? What have I done in the last 10 years? Now is the time, with the wisdom that I have, with the power and the knowing me, who I am and my value to this world. What can I do that to actually give back to the world, to inject to my community? Because the way I think is, anywhere you go, you have to leave a trail of positivity, trail of kindness, and something that can be replicated, but duplicated, not like you do, but at least the essence, injecting your essence into that and leaving that trail of positivity. So I just think everybody, once they get to that point, Scott, we really realize the purpose in our lives and we play to that. So it's a beautiful moment. It really is.
Yeah, not everybody loves what they do, but the people that are probably the most fun to work with do. Roz?
That's interesting. You should say that, okay? Because I was sitting in a webinar about loving your work, and we've read, we've seen, we've experienced, find your purpose, and if you love what you do, it's not a job. It's it's all those things that we've been used to hearing. However, the people that really, really enjoy their job, I'm going to tell you right now that it is not 100% like that every single day. There are going to be moments when you're going, oh my goodness, seriously, and the point of that whole webinar was the people that were the most successful were the ones that found those moments of what they loved. And in that moment, you apply whatever you do in that moment to the things that you don't like to do. So whatever those little traits that come up and you go, oh my gosh, I just feel so good when I do such and such. Well, how can we apply that to the moments where we not feeling all that great? So it's changing that direction and that perspective. And those are the most successful, because if anyone in the world that loves what they do, they're going to tell you it's not a 100% thing. They love particular moments of what they do, an overall umbrella of, yes, of course, I love what I do. However, these are the things that I really, really enjoy. So it's finding that and then taking that little piece and then plugging it into that other piece that, maybe not so good, or maybe not so in strength. It's a bit more that you need to improve on.
And I want to talk a little bit about the difference between reading body language and having emotional intelligence. Because
do we have another hour?
We talk about
that's part 3.
That's part 3.
We talk a lot about these things, about body language, about open and closed and so forth. Sometimes it's cold and people have their arms crossed, right? They're just not. Right. And so reading things, but emotional intelligence is something that transcends culture, transcends age, and so I'll just open it up. Who wants to address some emotional intelligence options?
I mean, what I can say is about community, right? It being online or offline, it's really important to have that emotional intelligence come into play, because for me as a community manager and advisor, I really do have to understand the people that are in that space. Now, I can't see them, right, because they're virtually, but through their context, right, what they're writing, they're posting, their videos, I at least can get a sense of what they're looking for, what they're about. So I have to do a lot of group, right, messaging, but I also do behind the scenes direct messages, emails, to honestly really get to know them, because I can't assume I know what they need and they want if I don't actually ask them. So that's where a lot of asking questions does come into play. So just recognizing their strengths, I call it the zones of genius. What are they really great at? And then I take that and I play on their strengths and I use it as part of their desire of what they want to do to enhance or improve their personal or professional careers. I mean, it's a lot of back and forth. It's a lot of trial and error. And I always have to remind myself to lead with grace, because like Ross said, it gets frustrating. We can love our job. We are going to get frustrated as heck if something doesn't work. But I have to toss it up in the air and said, you know what? I did my best today. Move on through it, Famia. I mean, tomorrow's a new day, but God bless my members. They're just, I have been able to encourage and empower some of them to actually be community thought leaders. They're mental health professionals, but then they come in and start taking the active role because I've kind of modeled that behavior in that space to do that. So that's why the emotional intelligence comes through, understanding them, knowing what they need, a lot of self-awareness too. For myself,
that's the first thing in EQ. That is the first one, is self-awareness. And if you don't have that, just like I mentioned, you can't continue on, and one of the other ones that I really, and I was talking about this today, the one EQ that I think is one of the most important ones. I mean, they're all important, but adaptability. Because this world is changing constantly and we are in constant movement. And if we are unable to adapt, then we cannot be as resilient either. So our sense of adapting comes from being open-minded and just having that open arms and going, okay, instead of the closed arms, we have to open them up and go, okay, let's see what's next. And that adaptability is, I feel, that is the fuel that drives the rest. And just to be clear, there's the book, it's not the IQ, it's the EQ. You could be the smartest person in the world, the most intelligent person, and not have any of those social skills. So, this is not about how smart you are. It's about how well you connect.
Oh, wow. That right there is a beautiful segue to it, just because, again, we go back to the whole sense of connecting. Why are we there? How do we express ourselves? And at the end of the day, is your body language will tell you pretty much everything. You know, if you're making eye contact, I know we tend like, I take myself as an example. I tend to be a chatterbox. I chat. But one of the things is, you will remember me. I will be able to work a room. I'll be able to talk to people from different backgrounds, because that is how I grew up. I really, really embraced a diverse background and getting to know people from all over the world. And that helped me with my talent. So, speaking different languages, I love embracing different cultures. So, that is one of the talents that I'm playing too. And I know other individuals, sometimes they see that as a hindrance. And I'm like, no, 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 that's your essence, that's your beauty. And you're able to utilize that for the benefit of connecting and networking. So, I believe, in my opinion, that adds a lot to, to the emotional intelligence, because you're able to handle yourself well, and you grow from that, from that actual just opportunity that you get.
To
Yeah,
add to what Raquel said, it's the confidence.
Let me throw out a quick definition of emotional intelligence. So we've got kind of a base here, and then back to you, Roz, and then Mia. Emotional intelligence is the ability to understand and control your own emotions, and also be able to read and influence the emotions of others. So, Roz.
Correct. And if you don't have that confidence in how you can self-regulate, it's going to be very difficult to be connecting with someone else. So that's why it's that, it starts within, before you go out. So a lot of people have issues or obstacles or challenges to really figure out. And I was just seeing someone saying hard to gauge self-awareness when you don't know what you're facing. That is absolutely true. And that's when you take that breath, like I've always said, take the breath, regroup, give yourself that moment, however long it takes, to figure out what it is that you're feeling. Because everyone on this earth has a need. You have to figure out, what is that need that I am feeling at this moment? And within that need, that there's a feeling behind the need. So it's just answering those few questions that will give you that direction. And again, this is not, putting your finger on the nuclear reactor here. It feels like it's common sense, but for some people it is a challenge, and it is up to us to help them move that needle. As I say to my clients, you're here, and that needle will move a bit more than where you were, weeks ago or months ago.
Yeah. Scott, can I add to what Ross was saying?
Yeah, I was going to say, I was going to come up to you. Go ahead.
Okay. Just to say what, to add on to what the ladies were saying, for me, I've had to embrace my own vulnerability. And I know that looks different for everybody. So accepting your level of vulnerability, whatever it may be, is important. For me to embrace that has allowed me to develop better relationships with the people around me. And not to say that, I'm telling every bit of my life, but just enough to where people are like, oh, I can warm up to her. She's a safe haven. She's a safe space for me to open up to her, which is why I have to do a lot of the back work, the one-on-one relationships, because relationship management is another piece too. That's where you build those connections with people too. I mean, I've started doing that with my members, and I have to ask the questions. What is it that you need? How can I support you? What are you looking to gain out of here? And I had a member tell me I need to develop my professional side as a therapist, right? And then I had another one tell me they need more self-care. So I take all those pieces and I develop the content, the information that I can build around them. But I also flip the switch and I call on the experts that have that area, so that it's like a tag team between the mental health professionals. Because again, I'm the first one to raise my hand. I don't have that background, but I do have enough sense, research, knowledge to go ahead and through the fostering of relationships to call on somebody who is that expert, tag them in, bridge that gap, and connect them. So that's why connections for me is like the overarching piece of knowing how to navigate it. Does it work all the time? No, but it's trial and error. But you have to be okay with trying, moving the needle in different parts and seeing what works best for them.
Bia
So
has a
that's just
really
bit about what I do.
great point. Thinking and going back to what I was saying, I may not be the person, but think of ourselves as catalysts to whatever it is that other people might need. You can be the catalyst to helping somebody, in self-care. You see, you connect them with that other person. So if we think of ourselves as the conduit of what, can happen, there's so many things wonderfully that can take place.
Scott, can you leave? We're all paused. You're not talking.
I'm going to move it right over. Raquel?
Oh, I thought I answered that already. Okay. No, I mean, no, that's fine. I was just like, wait, we're making the rounds. Started with me. No, I'm just kidding. But no, absolutely. I completely agree with what the ladies are doing and saying. It's because, it's self-awareness is important. You started this thought, with self-awareness, and we go back to it because if you're not sure like what's exactly how you fit into the mold of everything, then how are you going to be able to help others as you go along the way? So that is extremely important. And the aspect of community and connections, I mean, gosh, I know, Mia, you are just amazing at what you do in there, and I have so much to learn from you, even though that is just one of the elements that are instrumental for me. But the way you do things and the way you teach your individuals in the actual community is just fascinating. Just like I have to learn from you every single day. So yes.
Well, you can call me, chat with me.
I know, right?
Girl. Coffee chat.
I love the, this authenticity and being who you are. It was, I will say, one of the best compliments I got was when I met a person that I had only known for years digitally online. And we met face to face down in San Diego, social media marketing world. And Jackie Bernardi said, Scott, you are the same person in person as you are online.
Wow.
Yes. And when you get that authenticity, that's how you know that you're doing the right thing. There's nothing you have to really change, maybe a little tweak here and there because everybody needs a tweak. But you know that you are showing up. And that's the other thing that, when we are connecting, how are we showing up? What is it that, we want to people to see about us? And when we say show up, it's like, it's a physical showing up, but it's also, are we showing up because, as we, I go back, into when, I used to do a lot of, off Broadway and theater and all that. You always knew when the actor was just calling it in. What it's just like, oh yeah, he's calling it in, tonight, so, and it was just kind of like that. Okay, I'm just calling it in because it's mundane. It's like, and that is how people can feel when they're networking. I'm just calling this in. I'm just going to be here. I'm not going to be here for a long time. And, are we really showing up? Are we really being authentic? So it's, what is it that you want out of it? Again, answering what is it that you're needing other than the dollar sign, because everyone needs money. Okay? Yeah. Everyone needs money. But besides that, what is it that you're really looking for?
This is one of the things that I talk about when you go to networking events, and this works in virtual as well as in person. And this is differentiating between result and motivation, right? So the result is what people do, right? They're an accountant, they're a teacher, they're whatever it is they do. But there's a motivation for that, and it could be just money, which is rare, but it could be that they got a job because I don't know, paid well. But the example I give is if you walk into the kitchen and I've got bread and peanut butter and jelly, you don't say, oh, Scott's a sandwich maker, right? Immediately think, oh, he must be hungry, right?
Right.
He's doing this because he's
Mhm.
hungry. And so this is one of the things that when we talk to people, can we find out their motivation? What is it that really gives them the joy? So you talk to that real estate person, and when they get that tear in their eye because that first time home buyer family with their young child just moved into a house, got the keys, right? And invited the realtor over for that barbecue, right? That's what they're doing it for, right? Not the commission. I
Right.
mean, obviously, we need to pay our bills. We need to support our
Right.
families. We have obligations. Um, but that moment, right? Those are the things
That's the
that's the
love of your
motivation.
work moment. That's
Mhm.
the moment I'm
Mhm.
talking about.
And that's when you feel like when you found your purpose. I mean, we were talking
Yep.
about that a little while ago. It's saying that, yes, we all have mouths to feed. I have two little mouths to feed. So for me, obviously, making money is a high priority, right? Being a single mommy in this system that is not really designed for us, it's at the top of my game. I have to stay very constant for them. But needless to say, what feeds my soul at night is the fact that I can help somebody
Mm,
using my
Mhm.
talent, using my God given talents, using my knowledge, educating somebody in a way is a way to empower them so that they can be uplifted.
mhm.
And that
Mhm.
is what feeds my soul at night. So,
And
So,
Raquel, you just have that natural, innate ability. I mean, when I see you like on LinkedIn, you just have this approachable personality that people are just driven by your magnetic energy because you put it out there and you just don't care what people think of you because you are you. That's what
yeah.
I get. And I love that. You don't care because it's like, hey, you want to attract the people that you want and
Mhm.
repel the people that are not in your space. And that's okay because we're not everybody's cup of tea. And that's
Correct.
totally fine.
But it took me so long to actually acknowledge that and actually get
Yeah,
to
me too.
understand it because I'm like, I just want everybody to be at peace. I want everybody to be.
Yeah,
Why
trust
can't
me,
everybody get
me
along?
too. It took
it's
Let's
one
me
of
all get
those
years of
along, right?
figuring that out.
it's one of those things that we always say,
Yeah.
we look at ourselves and you go, oh, I'm good here, but I'm weak here, so I need to strengthen that weakness. But
Mhm.
maybe we can just work to our strengths, right?
Yep.
Just like when you're working with people and you meet people and it's just not going to be a fit. Sometimes,
Mhm.
especially if you're a people pleaser, which is not a bad thing, uh, you want to do everything you can to get that person to like you, to work
You
with
know,
you, right?
Scott, uh, I generally don't like
But
to
don't.
use
I was
the
just going to
word
say, don't do
weakness.
that. Go ahead.
No.
Go ahead.
I usually don't like to use the word weakness because it just has it has a heaviness to it. It has a negative connotation. I always say,
Mhm.
this is like an area that, we just keep improving,
Mhm.
because the starting point, everyone's starting point is different. And, so are we, gauging, weaknesses, so to speak. It's just we need to just move from that place, forward and just have that mentality of just, it's an improvement. It's a challenge and we're going to improve it. But,
Mhm.
feeling like as soon as you say that word, that body language starts, there's a somatic
Mhm.
response to that. It's
Mhm.
like, "I'm not good enough. Oh my God." And all of a sudden you just start to
Imposter
like,
syndrome.
Well, and
you know,
and that goes back to research says that attractive people are more successful. I thought, rats, man. Okay, but the good news is that research also says that confident people are more attractive. So going
correct.
back to our algebra and the transitive property, if A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C. That is to say, confident people are more successful. And one of the best, so I was at a career summit for college and high school students as a mentor for 4 days down at the University of Oregon a couple of weeks ago. And one of the best pieces of advice from one of the speakers was a week before you go to a networking event, put a post-it note just above eye level on every door frame in your house. And when you
Mhm.
walk through, make sure you're looking at at that door frame. And so that you condition yourself so when you walk into that room, you don't walk into a room looking down at the rug. You walk into the room with your head up,
Mm-hmm.
and instantly people will think, oh, who is that?
Right.
Mm-hmm. You know,
I
and
love
Scott, you were
that
talking about
tip.
playing on your strengths to what also Roz was saying. When you, because you know, Raquel, I years back was not as confident as I was today. It took me a lot to get where I am now. I'm a recovering perfectionist. I will gladly acknowledge that. And then you know, and I see Nicole put in the feed where she talked about improvement is better than delayed perfection. Absolutely. None of us are perfect. None of us go in knowing everything. So we have to also be okay with asking for help.
Mm-hmm.
I this last week was, you know, struggling with certain things behind the scenes, and I had to reach out to friends for support. I was okay being vulnerable, reaching out to those trusted friends, and they were giving me words of encouragement, upliftment, and I trust them enough to call me out on certain things in a healthy, very loving way, not in a bad way, but I myself needed it too. So if we're trying to be that for other people, we
Mm-hmm.
also have to do that for ourselves too, and recognizing that yes, we have these strengths, but we're also going to have those moments of enhancements, areas of improvement that we do need to work on as well. So it's
Mm-hmm.
a back and forth natural give and take. So it's important to be surrounded by people who can be that support system for you to lean in on, to be a better and enhanced version of yourself than you were yesterday.
I
And
love it.
oh my gosh, I love that. And to speak just on a closing thought on that is, I know Ross doesn't like weakness so much, but you know,
I
it's
had
one of those
seen it.
things. Yeah, it's one of those things that I'm going to quote my friend Mike Asherbanner from the Hounds. He says, you know, what weaknesses? I outsource mine, because we have such a
Mhm.
supportive community of individuals
Mm-hmm.
who will be there for you to
Mhm.
help you where in those areas where you need improvement, or where you
Mhm.
know you may not be up to par. And I mean, it's okay, we all understand that's just the way it is. So I just wanted to kind of add that, because it came to my mind, so I thought it was
There's a
awesome.
great
I
comment,
love
and as
that.
we're winding down, so I want to make sure that we get these last golden thoughts before we go out, and then how people get a hold of you and do business with you. And you know, Roz, I'll just say that I'm with you. Weaknesses, not so good. It's just the other thing. We all have our pet peeves. One of them for me is fail fast. You know, we talk about that in the
Hmm.
business. Fail. You know, fail, fail, fail. And I'm like, I do not fail. I do not want to fail. I do not like failure. I am not encouraging people to fail. I am, however, recommending for people to make decisions. So if you try something and it doesn't work, then do something else. You
Trial and error.
decided to do that. That is not failure. That is a decision. So let's go back to Raquel. Let you close out final thoughts and how people get a hold of you.
My goodness. All right. Well, that hour really did go by fast, y'all. We may have to do a part three. I'm telling you, we always have so much fun. So thank you again, Russ, for the invitation and the honor. But one thing that I would lead people with, that I just think it's just amazing for me, and that it's proven, a piece of knowledge that I got so long ago, is really lead with kindness.
Hmm.
There's nothing better in this world than to lead with kindness. Kindness will open the door to anything and everywhere and everyone. Use it wisely, you know, because at the end of the day, that kindness can lead to a connection that can be life changing in a positive way for you. So
I
always
love it.
smile, always lead with kindness. Remember that, and you know, the rest will come. So way people can communicate with me and get a hold of me is through LinkedIn. I live on LinkedIn day and night, and you know, just DM me, ready, or just shoot me a message, usually, or you'll
Mhm.
catch me on one of these lives. So I'll be around. Thank you so much.
All right, Mia.
Ooh, so I guess the words that I would leave is just reminding ourselves and the people that are here and the people that are going to watch later and everyone is that we all have this really special and unique story to share to the
Mm,
world and to embrace it. And, you know, we need to share it with someone because you just don't know what somebody's going through that needs to hear that story or to see your smile, because that impact can make a world of a difference and can make somebody's day. So just uplift people. It doesn't cost you anything. Those kindness acts, truly do make someone's day. So I was very fortunate to have that, with a group of people. So it just becomes a ripple effect of positivity. And the way you all can reach me is on LinkedIn. So like Raquel, I am the community butterfly that you will see fluttering around everywhere on LinkedIn. So if you're not connected with me, come my way.
Fabulous. Roz.
Oh my gosh, I can't. There's just so much good juju. So kindness and the power of story. I love that because it goes very well together. I also would like to add, when we remind ourselves of, that self-doubt, whenever we think that, we may not feel so good. Last time I said, think about, what your future self would thank for. This time, I want people to look back and see what their past self would admire them for. And keep that next to you when you have those moments when you're not feeling all that great. Because that's a reminder, because those are stories. Those are stories that you can share with other people. And to just leave it in just that term, just be good to yourself. You'll be good to others.
I love it.
So
be
kind to yourself.
It was just thinking, I was going back to Raquel, what you were talking about was this kindness, right? And early in my career, just out of college, I'm in banking and get into this management training program. And one of the first things that we do is we're going to have lunch with the president in the boardroom, the top of some tall tower in downtown Portland. It's like, that's pretty cool. So we had this mentor, and Cliff Diaz was his name. And as we're getting ready for the president, Joe Johnson, to come in and have lunch with us, he says, Scott, I want to tell you about office politics because it exists. And he goes, here is what you need to know. If you think of the root of the word politics as polite, he says, you will have mastered everything you need to know about office politics. So thank you for that. Thank you for everyone. Hey, if people want to get a hold of me, LinkedIn is a fabulous place.
LinkedIn, I forgot. I was like running away with, Mia's and Raquel's stuff, but LinkedIn for me, DM me. And if you're not connected, please reach out and connect.
Absolutely. So with
that,
that,
is our part 3.
I would doubt
pressure
that we shouldn't have more of this. And so we need to have much more conversations around this. It's a big subject. It is an important subject, and just more and more practice. So I encourage people, find events to go to and then go to them. And here's the piece of advice that I will give. I guarantee that everyone on the screen and that everyone in the comments and everyone who watches the replay, every one of you already has a fabulous network filled with remarkable people who want you to succeed. You just need to let them know what problem you solve and what kind of people you solve it for. And that's it.
That's it.
So with that,
thank you.
We're going to sign out, and thank you to Russ. Continue to heal. Stay there in the green room, if you will, for a moment, and we'll be back. But thank you to everyone. Remember, Russ Reals every Thursday, 4 p.m. Pacific time, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Special thank you to our sponsor of Russ Reals Live, Emily Harmon Coaching and Consulting. For more information on Emily Harmon's Coaching and Consulting, go to emilyharmon.com. Learn how to unbury your dreams and live the life you love.